Hello everyone, my name is Maruku and welcome back to What If Deku Was a Dragneel? So let's get started. And a little disclaimer, if there is any sounds in the background that are very loud, bestly described, it's my family. They're very rowdy and loud, and I just can't avoid it, so be aware. So, we get started with the fact that Izuku has been with Igneel for about 2 years now. He's grown very proficient in the arts of Dragon Slayer magic, to the point where when Igneel brings a boulder for Izuku to practice with, just gripping onto the boulder itself, it will shatter the boulder. He's got a very strong kind of grip strength to him. Furthermore, he has learned the art of eating fire like his stepfather, to the point where Igneel doesn't have to hold a lot of his fire back for Izuku. Due in part that Izuku is very good at eating the fire now. And Izuku has also learned how to make his flames very versatile. He's able to create make his fire into a propulsion system, whereas he can literally fly using it now. I will say that with all the time that he has been gone, he still misses his mother, he still misses Bakugo, and he still misses Mitsuki. But he knows that until he gets the full hang of how to use Dragon Slayer magic, he's not going to be able to bring himself to go back. So until then, he has decided to basically just suck it up and train as long as he can until the time arises when he feels confident enough to go back to his mom. Though the process is, shall you say, complicated at this moment. Due in part that, as it stands, it's a brisk afternoon, beginning of spring. It's starting to warm up a little bit when Izuku finds that his father figure has mysteriously disappeared on him. He gets up and he looks around, and Igneel is nowhere to be found. This worries Deku. In all the time that he's been with Igneel, he has never woken up alone before. And he gets up and he goes out into the valley that he's grown so accustomed to every morning. He's gotten so used to this valley that it's almost become second nature for him to wander around it and know where everything is. But unfortunately, his father figure is missing. And he knows that somewhere deep down in his heart, he knows that his father figure, Igneel, was not going to come back. And that he thought that Igneel maybe did this so that Izuku could finally go back to where he belongs, with the humans. He thought that maybe Igneel thought to himself that Izuku would never leave by his own choice. That he would gladly stay there with Igneel forever, which was technically a very big factor and could be called the case in the moment. But unfortunately, Igneel was no longer around as far as Izuku knew. So he figured that he would collect what he could of his father's and his memorabilia, the leftovers of who he has been for the past 2 years, and he decides he's going to go home. He's going to finally go look for his mom. And after collecting everything he's gotten, he takes a deep breath and Fire emits from his hands as he propels himself up into the air, high into the sky, and he looks over the horizon. He sees a vast amount of forest, and he can see a road in the distance. One that looks like it's been, shall you say, like a old but not completely destroyed. He goes towards it. And once he finds himself on the road, he looks around and he sees that the road looks familiar. Due in part that it's the road that him, his mother, his best friend, and his best friend's mom took to get to their camping site. He knew better than to believe that his mother would have waited 2 years for him there. So, he started to walk all the way back, like following the road as far as he could to hopefully find his way back home. He was sad because he felt like he was leaving a part of himself behind. He grabbed tightly to Igneel's scarf. He held it close to him. He could still feel his father's love through the scarf. It brought a tear to his eye, thinking about how he was going to very dearly miss Igneel. But he knew that until he got stronger, he couldn't truly learn what really happened to him. That he was going to have to wait until he could truly learn the secrets of what happened to his father figure, where he went, and if he was still alive. He knew that Igneel was getting old, but he didn't think that he had such little time left on this earth. But as he followed the road, he decided that his best course of action might, instead of be like walking, but to use his arms to propel him forward along the while still following the road, to kind of pick up the pace, make this a bit faster. So as he's propelling himself forward, he's running with as fast as his legs can stably keep him, until he finds himself at a wider kind of expanse of road. This being that like the turnoff that it takes to get to the hiking trail of the mountain. And he follows it until he gets into the city. And he knows that it's a matter of time until someone finally kind of asks him what he's doing and helps him find his way back to his mom. Izuku, he walks around for a bit, and as he's walking, he sees the looks of people as they pass him on the streets. They're giving him unsettled looks. Granted, he can't really blame them. He looks awful. He looks disheveled. He's wearing worn out, dirty pants, and his shirt is just as disheveled and ratty. He looks like he came from extreme poverty. So it made people very uncomfortable to get a look of him and see the boy in such a state. But on the other hand, he knew that like I said, it wasn't their fault. The pants were also way too small for their own good. I mean, 2-year-old pants, from the fact that he was about, I'm gonna say, 5 to year 7. that's a big growth gap. So those pants don't exactly look like they're doing too well. But after a bit of walking around, Izuku finds himself so curious as to why a pro hero hasn't approached him yet. He kind of feels a bit sad, and he leans against a building and kind of just sits there with his hands wrapped around his knees and his knees pulled up to his chest, and he begins to cry a little bit while holding on to Igneal's scarf. He whispers to himself, "I wish you were here, Dad. If you were here, you'd know what to do. You always knew what to do." And then Izuku feels something tap at him. And when he looks up, he sees a man in yellow, just a lot of yellow, with like two diamonds where his eyes are, like diamond shapes, like black diamond shapes, like a mask. And the older gentleman says, "You okay, kid? What's wrong? Where's your mama?" Izuku looks at the hero and says, "I got separated from her 2 years ago. Can you help me find her?" Gran Torino is taken aback by this. 2 years. He looks the boy over and he thinks to himself, "This kid's in some bad condition. He's not malnutrition, but his clothes are way too small for him. The only clothing he has that looks moderately passable is the scarf around his neck." But he thinks further that this kid really needs to get into some better fitting clothing. And he tells the kid, "Hey, how about we get you some clothes that will fit just a little bit better, and I'll take you to the police station and we can help you find your mom there, okay?" Izuku asks him, "How do I know you're not going to kidnap me?" Gran Torino reassures me by saying, "Well, little man, my name is Gran Torino. I'm a pro hero. I only want to help out, okay? So please, take my hand. Let's get you some clothes, get you nice and well dressed, and I promise I'll help you reunite with your mom, okay?" Izuku reaches his hand up and puts his hand on Gran Torino's hand and says, "Okay." And Gran Torino, with as much tact as he can, he quickly scoops the boy into his arms and carries him over to a clothing store that has appropriate fitting clothes, and gets Izuku fitted up in a pair of shorts with some black kind of trimming and a red t-shirt with long sleeves. And as Gran Torino reaches, when Izuku comes out with everything on, Gran Torino tries to take the scarf away from Izuku because it looks like it desperately needs a good wash, and Izuku slaps his hand away and says, "No, don't touch Daddy's scarf. Or my father's scarf." And Gran Torino takes his hand back. He's like, okay, I won't touch the scarf. If it means that much to you, you can keep it on. But it kind of looks like we're getting into spring, so it'll get pretty hot soon. So I don't know how comfortable you're gonna be wearing that scarf for long. Izuku says, "I'm fine. I'm not bothered by hot weather." So he tells Izuku, "Okay, keep the scarf." but let's get you to a police station. That way we can help you find your mom, get you situated and all that, okay? And Izuku nods his head and says, okay. Just don't touch my scarf. Gran Torino laughs and he walks with the boy all the way to the police station, carrying him again because the boy is not wearing shoes. And when they get there, the Gran Torino kind of looks out over the and he asks one of the police officers if Tsukachi is available to help, and they call him down, and Detective Tsukachi comes over and says, "Hey, Gran Torino, what's going on?" And Gran Torino says, "Well, I found this kid sitting against a building. He tells me that he wants to find his mom, that he's been separated from her for 2 years." And Detective Tsukachi, he looks over the kid, and Gran Torino says, "Yeah, I gave him some new clothes. He didn't look very well off. Like, he was wearing really disheveled clothing. So I got him the best I could, but unfortunately the kid ain't got shoes still." Izuku goes, "I don't need shoes. I'm fine the way I am." Gran Torino and Tsukachi kind of look over at this kid and go, "Okay then, fine, do it your way." But Gran Torino tells him that they need to figure out who his mom is so that they can get them reunited, get everything fixed up and situated. And Tsukachi says, "Okay, well, let's start off by learning who your family is. Can you tell me your name, young man?" Izuku goes, "Yeah, my name is Izuku Midoriya." Tsukachi goes, "Midoriya, okay, let's see. Let's see if we got anything in our systems for an Izuku Midoriya." And as Tsukachi kind of goes to sit down at his desk, he pulls up all of the missing kids from around 2 years ago, and something is kind of, what's the word for it? Poking at the back of his mind, like he remembers a Midoriya. Like, more specifically, a very distressed mother who tended to come in every so often, and that's when it hits him. He goes, "Oh shoot, I know who his mom is." And like after he kind of like pulls it up to make sure it is him, he goes, okay, so I know who your mom is. She comes in, like, I'm gonna say once every 2 weeks to ask if there's any progress in the investigation to figure out where you are. I'm gonna call her up." And Tsukachi, he gets his phone and he starts calling the Midoriya residence, and Inko picks up the phone and proceeds to say, hello. And Tsukachi says, "Mrs. Midoriya," and Inko then shouts into the phone, "Detective Tsukachi, is there any any news about my son?" And Tsukachi goes, and I kind of like holds the phone away from his ear because she kind of almost blew his ear out, and goes, "Well, that's why I'm calling you, ma'am. I believe that we have your son here at the police station, if you will. For comical reasons, I want to say that it could be audibly heard as the phone was dropped, the door was slammed open, and you could faintly hear the sounds of a tire, peeling out of the driveway, but that's too goofy. I'm gonna say that over the phone line, you could just hear her frantically kind of grab her stuff and say, "Thank you, detective. I'll be there soon." As she kind of gets all her stuff together, gently putting the phone back on the receiver, not being a complete and utter psychopath. And about 10, 15, 20 minutes later, a frantic, desperate Inko Midoriya is walking into the precinct, looking around frantically for Tsukachi and her beloved baby boy Izuku. And as she catches a glimpse of Tsukachi in his office, she runs headlong into the room and says, "Where is my baby? Where is my baby?" And as she's saying this, looking around, she looks at the pro hero with a lot of yellow and sees a sweet little Izuku Midoriya just sitting in his lap. And she freaking tackles, she grabs Izuku out of Gran Torino's lap and yanks him into her arms and begins to let out the notorious Midoriya tears as she cries, "Oh, my sweet, sweet baby. Oh, Izuku, I've looked for you for so long. Where did you go? What happened, Izuku? Please." And she kind of puts him down and starts kind of checking his face, checking his neck, checking under his shirt, looking at his legs and feet, noticing he's not wearing shoes and freaking out because he's not wearing shoes. She's like, "Oh, my poor baby, your feet, your feet." And just the entire time Izuku is starting to turn red. He's like, "Mom, I'm fine. Stop checking me." And she stops and puts her hands on his arms and says, "Oh, Izuku, what happened to you? Or are you sure you're okay?" And Izuku tells her, yes, he's okay. That he was, he doesn't technically want to tell her the story, but he kind of has to. He tells her that he got lost on the mountain trail because he made the mistake of going off the trail and became very lost, which to everyone there, that doesn't surprise them because that was obvious and clearly apparent that such things had to have happened. And as he is going down the checklist, he kind of explains that he got attacked by a giant monitor lizard and then rescued by a red dragon, which, mind you, that makes the adults in the room think of like a red version of Ryukyu, but he says no, like an actual, not a quirk, dragon. A real dragon, not quirk at all. He told me he was an ancient that had the powers of great and powerful fire, and since I had nowhere else to go, due in part that I was kind of lost, I stayed with him, and he took care of me for these past 2 years. And Inko's like, "Well, how did you get into the city?" He's like, "Well, the dragon disappeared on me, and I kind of just hoofed it, for the most part." And his mom's like, How long did it take you? To get to get here, I'm gonna say about an hour. From where he was to the road. It's like, how could you have gotten to the road within an hour? He's like, "Oh, I flew." He's like, "Flew?" "Yeah, I have the powers of fire now." And Inko is kind of taken aback. She's like, "You what now?" She's like, "Yeah, I've got the powers of a dragon slayer. I learned dragon slayer magic." Which Tsukachi, after realizing that everything he is saying is true, due in part that he has a lie detector quirk, he is astonished. He's like, "Okay, so the facts are, this boy found himself lost in a forest, got attacked by a giant monitor lizard, saved by a dragon, and was taught fire magic. And that, and that he's been there for 2 years. This impressed him greatly. He's like, this kid, how the hell did he survive all that?" And Inko's like, "Wait, so you have a quirk now?" He's like, I think so. I learned magic, so I don't think it's actually a quirk, though I did notice that halfway through my training, I had a weird kind of like a awakening, whereas I was suddenly able to just start breathing fire directly from my throat, and my arms develop these really interesting scales when I focus. And as he says this, he puts his hand out, like with his palm up, and as he flips his hand around, like an extensive amount of scales start kind of flickering up his arms, and the ends of his fingernails became very sharp with a finite point in them, like genuine like claws that you'd see on a dragon. Not giant, but like the size of his actual like a 7-year-old kid's arm, but like kind of hands. But like this impressed them a lot, and Inko thanked the police officers and just kind of took her little Izuku home. Just grateful that she was able to get her son back. On the other hand, it was a very grueling process of her being extremely, and I mean extremely, clingy for a long while, due in part that she was literally afraid that like she'd close her eyes and wake up with him not there anymore. And essentially it was a very long grace period where normal had to be re-established, I guess. But after it kind of set back in that it wasn't a dream, that it really was him, Inko finally kind of started getting her courage back to let her son be kind of like alone more, not like that, but to where she could feel safe with having him go back to school. So that did happen. That he went back to school, and I'll say that in the time that he kind of was isolated in his own house, due in part that his mom just really did not want him to leave her sights before she sent him back to school. Inko, like during the process, freaking Inko called Mitsuki at like over the phone and was crying about how she got her Izuku back, and Mitsuki brought Bakugo over to see Izuku, because the moment Katsuki heard that Izuku was back, he became excited as hell, and that whole thing happened. Whereas like they got to see Izuku and all that, and Izuku explained that now he's got the powers of a dragon, and basically that's the long and short of it. It's all caught up now. So he goes back to school, and everyone is happy to see him. And I'm going to say that over the years, Izuku and Bakugo have spent a fair amount of time together. They've kind of like gotten closer than since Izuku had come back, due in part that like now he really did have like an extensive amount of powers, and Bakugo no longer had to be the like the protector, like a shield to keep people from picking on Izuku. Though that, like I said, they became very close. They became like really, really good friends, and like their friendship had like blossomed to being best friends, and the two were basically inseparable. Like if you saw one of the two, you'd see the other not far behind them. Like it was a very extensive thing, whereas like you mess with one, you mess with both. essentially. And in that stance, messing with both meant Izuku roasting you like a damn pig, like utterly, completely, and with little regard, like sucking in air and breathing a funnel of fire so vast that it would singe your eyebrows in milliseconds. That did lead to a lot of problems. Like the couple of times he did do it, though, Izuku was very good, and I mean very good, at getting out of situations like that by telling the teachers involved that they attacked him first and that they threatened to do some extensively bad things, like cut him, and he was merely defending himself, which was mostly not the case, but with the occasional ability to plant objects on the bullies before a teacher could fully investigate. Nothing crazy, aside from maybe the occasional sharpened toothbrush shiv thing that he would slip into their backpacks or their pockets after knocking them down. Very, very very good evidence, making sure that him and Bakugo came out on top. But nevertheless, they trained together, got improved together, and Izuku learned that he was able to eat Bakugo's explosions, and whenever he created fire out of Bakugo's explosions, his fire would always have a lot more of a how do I say this, like a bit more bite to it, a little bit more like concussive force whenever it would like shoot out of his palms. And he even learned that like if he really focused on the like he ate a lot of Bakugo's fire, that he could also create like explosions using his fire as well, which was a very intriguing revelation that may or may not have involved accidentally, I'll say, breaking a park bench one time by accident. Nothing extensively crazy, just tore up the bench by accident. Though, I'll say that they are in high school now, and they got to the point where the teacher was like, I was going to pass out career aptitude tests, but who am I kidding? I know you all want to be heroes. And he threw his papers in the air, but Bakugo and Izuku were the only ones with enough tact to not use their quirks in class. And I'm going to say that with Izuku around, Bakugo became a lot more tame and not as brash or extensive with his superiority complex. Like, he still felt like he was like pretty stinking good, and that that his quirk would definitely get him like a lot of places, not where he felt like he was privileged or like he was better than anyone else, but he knew that like his quirk afforded him the ability to have a very strong chance of having the hero kind of profession be his whole thing. He wasn't greedy and didn't have aspirations to be the richest hero and all that, but like him and Izuku did kind of like come to a point where the both of them just felt like they both really wanted to just to like make a name for themselves and be like really good heroes. But at the end of the day, Izuku is just minding his own business. I'm gonna say that he's become a lot rougher in terms of his personality, like doing part that he's a dragon slayer. Like, I'm not gonna say rough, like super delinquent, but he's become more lax. Like like to where whenever they're doing anything like athletic, he refuses to wear full on t-shirts. Hell, he'll take off his damn his damn shirt and reveal all the muscle on him. Like whenever he's doing extensively strict kind of exercises like climbing a rope or running far distances. This kind of made him a very powerful chick magnet. Another thing is that he has gotten to the point where he absolutely refuses to wear genuine shoes. He has wraparound sandals with a red trimming and black kind of I don't want to say ribbon. I'm gonna say it's like a strap. I guess it's like a leather strap that wraps around his legs or his feet or something like that to kind of keep the shoes on. But I'm not gonna say that they're ribbons. But nevertheless, he just kind of wears those as often as possible because he just really does not like shoes at all. And his hair has become more unruly and extensively unruly. He doesn't like to cut it a lot, but whenever it gets crazy long, he will shorten his hair in order to kind of create a to where it's long but not to his shoulders long. It's just very frizzy and curly. But at the end of the day, Bakugo asks Izuku if he wants to go to the arcade with him, minus the lackeys, because Bakugo and Izuku are too good for lackeys and will always refuse them. I'm just saying that because these two are so close that they don't need lackeys. They got each other. They're homies. But Izuku tells him nah. He has some plans with his mom that he'll go with him on another occasion. And Bakugo's like, okay, I'll see you later. I'll call you tonight so that we can play online. And Izuku, yeah. We'll definitely do that. Okay. So they separate at the front gate, and as Izuku is making his way home, he walks under a bridge and finds himself face to face with the ugly booger that comes from the sewers. And when he sees it, he's like, "Oh, come on! Who blew their nose into the sewer?" Actually, now that I think about it, who could be big enough to blow a booger that big? And the sludge villain is insulted by this and says, "I'm not a bugger, I'm sludge." And Izuku goes, "Well, you're green, you're viscous, you're disgusting. I'd say that you're pretty close to a booger that came from a sinus infection." In a rage, the sludge villain lunges towards Izuku, but Izuku, seeing what the villain is going to do, he's like, "Oh, I'm not letting you touch me." And he breathes in it as deep as he can and yells out, "Fire dragons, roar!" And the sludge just begins to evaporate as the thing is screaming its lungs out in pain from being melted a bit. As it hits the ground, it's not dead. It just kind of starts to cower away. It's like, "Who are you? Damn it! Now I have to deal with two freaks." And Izuku goes, "Freaks? Who the hell's the other one?" Which he doesn't care if people call him a freak. He knows that he's awesome. So that and Bakugo tells him he's awesome too because, the extensive training, they know each other's limits. But then the sound of the manhole cover that the giant booger came from flies up, and out comes the blonde man in his white shirt and really, really crappy cargo pants. And he goes, no need to fear, cause, oh. Well, what happened here? And Izuku is like, All Might! And the sludge villain looks at All Might and goes, please, please, keep him away from me. He melted me. He evaporated my sludge. It hurt. I'll do anything. I'll go in. I'll give myself up. Just keep that kid away from me. And All Might goes, okay. And proceeds to pour out his bottles and the sludge villain basically gives up and just goes into the bottle itself, which I'm pretty sure he would rather, because having its eyes separated like that, I'm pretty sure was very trippy in the canon. But I'm getting sidetracked. All Might looks over at the kid and goes, what did you do? And Izuku goes, I didn't do nothing. He attacked me and I just spit a little fire on him. And All Might's like, you spit a little fire on him. Yep. That's the excuse you're using? Yep. Okay then. And Izuku goes, please sign my notebook. And he goes, okay kid, I'll sign your notebook. And All Might signs the notebook, and Izuku is bowing. He's like, thank you, All Might. This will be a family heirloom for generations. And All Might kind of gives him that salute type of thing. And All Might jumps off. He's like, without any fuss or anything of the like happening. No sludge villain attack. The second time that happens to Bakugo, nothing. Izuku just goes home to his, tells his mom hello, and goes on with his day. I'm gonna say that Izuku, over the span that it takes him to reach this point in the story, he's done a lot of extensive training. Like he has he's become his proficiency with his flames has become very powerful, that literally he's able to just generate heat from his body straight up. Like if he's just standing around and he's not focusing on keeping keeping it reined in, his skin will literally project heat out of it that can make a whole room so warm that it would put people in a cold sweat. Like you could be in a freezer, and if he was to not focus hard enough, his skin would generate so much heat that he'd make a cooler really, really hot, make you sweat a lot too. But I'm gonna say that during the time that he's got until his UA entrance exam, he's getting real hype. He's getting real excited. He's like, him and Bakugo have come up with go for sparring a lot, but at one point he notices that there's a beach that's just full of trash, and he's like, well, that's gross. Why the heck hasn't anyone come and clean this mess up? And he thinks to himself, this could be good training. And he proceeds to kind of decide to himself that he wants to clean the beach up in order to train and give himself the ability to, build some extra muscle just on top of everything else. Get some extra muscle in there. Getting real strong. And as he's doing it, he feels very proud of himself for doing the community a service by doing all this. And as Izuku is moving a lot of heavy objects, he notices that over in the distance, by the staircase, there's a person. The only thing about her that he can make out from where he is that it's a female. with a very nice shape on her. She's wearing a hoodie with some pink jogging shorts. A very pretty girl, if I do say so myself. And as as he's like kind of observing them, he sees them like grab the rim of their hoodie and kind of toss it back, like revealing some very elegant brunette hair that goes down to the shoulders, with some very beautiful, beautiful eyes, and the most adorable of pink tint on their cheeks. And the girl in question starts walking down the stairs, and he kind of walks over there to meet her. And whenever he finally approaches her, she kind of calls out saying, "Hey, are you the one that's been cleaning up the beach? It looks really good." And Izuku, even through all these years, still not being very good at talking to girls because he's always nervous. He's like, yeah. I I cleaned the beach a bit, because by this point, like there was a decent amount that was cleared out, and she looks back at it. She looked over at him and says, "Well, you've done very good. I was on a run whenever I noticed you out here, and I noticed all the work that's been done. I just wanted to see the person who is doing all this work." And Izuku gets a small bit of tint on his face and is slightly embarrassed by at the fact that a girl is complimenting him so much, and he tells her, I just wanted to clear it out because it's the right thing to do, and because, hey, it makes for good strength training. And she goes, "Oh, really?" And he's like, "Yeah, it does. I'm planning to apply to the hero course, UA. I'm hoping this will help my chances a bit." And she says, "Oh, you're applying for UA too?" And I'm gonna say that the blush on her face is like intensifies whenever Izuku kind of like lifts up his shirt a little bit to wipe some sweat off of his brow, and she gets a glimpse of those abs of his, and her blush kind of intensifies a bit, and in her head she's going, "Oh my. Well, aren't you just a very nice specimen yourself?" And Izuku, whenever he sees that, whenever after he's done like wiping his brow, and he sees that that she's kind of like looking down a bit like towards his stomach, and he blushes a bit more, and then even more after that, once he sees like a very, very tiny line of drool begin to seep from the corner of her mouth, and he's like, so yeah, I'm the one that's cleaning the beach. I'm really hoping that by the time the exam comes around, I'll have the beach completely cleaned up and all that, and she thinks Uraka thinks that his stuttering is just the cutest thing that she has ever seen, and she tells him, well, hopefully, I've trained enough to get into to UA and myself, and Izuku he goes, well, I wish you the best of luck in when you go, and Uraka goes, by the way, what's your name? And Izuku goes, I'm Izuku Midoriya. And Uraka says, I'm Uraka Ochako. It's nice to meet you. And the both of them are blushing, and Izuku, with all the confidence he can, he musters up the courage to go, are you almost done with your run? And she's like, oh, yeah. I was about to finish. Izuku goes, yeah, I was about to finish up for the day myself. Would you like to hang out with me for a little bit? I mean, you seem like a very nice girl, and I wanted to get to know someone who is also gonna try out for the hero course at UA. You know, and Uraka, seizing the moment, says, I would love to. I would love to hang out with you. And Izuku, he gets a wide smile as he tells her, okay, well, yeah, like I said, I'm finished for the day, so do you mind if I join you for your for the end of your run? She's like, yeah, there's no problem with that. And they begin to run side by side with each other, and as they're going, Izuku is kind of hypnotized, because like she took a leading start, and he wasn't ready, so like he started following after her, and he became very hypnotized by oh my gosh, I'm bad. By the swaying of her hips. He was mesmerized, even. He had a hard time keeping his eyes off of the sway of her hips, the stride that she was taking, you know, her whole form, and as he's catching up to her, he he can't help but feel his heart quicken, and as he's catching up, he passes her, and when he turns around to joke around by saying you better catch up, he's hypnotized again by the swaying of her. I'm real bad right now. Of everything, the long, elegant stride in her legs, the nice sway of her body, and the sweet look of her face as she smiles to try and kind of catch up to him, as her whole personality is out there, you know, just kind of like showing through through the surface. You just like getting a real nice look of her of like the movement of all the muscle in her body, is all of her assets are just kind of, you know, moving around, and he kind of like trips over his own foot for a moment, and like hits the ground, because then when he turned around, right, he started like kind of running backwards, and when he tripped, he fell on his butt, and like Uraraka stopped next to him and like kind of like giggled a little bit and said, "Are you okay, Izuku?" Yeah, I wasn't paying attention to my footing, and and he decided that he was going to get his mind out of the gutter and focus on actually running properly instead of ogling the poor girl. But essentially, when once Uraraka finishes the last of her run, um, Izuku asks her like if running is a hobby for her, or if it's just like in preparation for UA. She says that it's a tiny hobby that she likes to run like a little bit for like to help her build muscle and to help her relax after a long day. And Izuku can sympathize with that. He understands the importance of exercising to relax and help kind of like relieve stress and all that. And as he's walking side by side with her, he asks her what her favorite things are, and basically they get to kind of spend time getting to know each other. And Uraraka asks why he wants to be a hero, and he's like, yeah, well, I just want to help people. I want to be a strong hero. That way, that I can protect the people that I love and the people that need my help. And she's like, oh, that's really cool. And then she kind of like notices, finally notices the oddity of the fact that he's wearing a white scarf in this kind of heat. And she's like, what's with the white scarf, by the way? I noticed you were wearing it before, but I didn't like really pay attention to it till just now. He's like, oh, it was a gift from my father. He's like, oh, that's really sweet. And he tells her, yeah, it's very near and dear to my heart, so I don't like to take it off very often. And she's like, well, that's really, really sweet, Izuku. Now, I think it's kind of adorable to have such special keepsakes of important family members. He's like, yeah, technically he wasn't like an actual genuine blood family member, but he was like a father to me. He was very special. She's like, oh, he wasn't your actual dad? Like, no. My actual dad lives overseas. This one was more like a stepfather to me. He took care of me for about 2 years. She's like, why only 2 years? And he tells her, oh, as a kid I got lost in the forest and he found me. I was getting attacked by a forest animal and kind of creature, and he came to rescue me. I was really young then, so I didn't know how to get back to my mom or find my way back to the city. So he took care of me and taught me a lot. He taught me how to use my powers, and he just kind of felt like a father to me, more than my actual one, due in part that I don't get to really see him since he lives in America. But he gave me this scarf, and it's the last thing I have to remember him by. She goes, oh no, did he pass? And Izuku goes, I don't know, I just kind of woke up one day and he was gone. I made my way back to the city the best I could, and that was the last time I ever saw him. Ochako kind of puts her hand on Izuku's shoulder and tells him that she's sure that his quote-unquote father is out there somewhere, and he's probably thinking of Izuku just as much as Izuku is thinking of him. Izuku is comforted by this a little bit, and he thanks her for her kind words. And as things are and as Izuku is kind of, getting closer and closer with Ochako, he kind of like things kind of get, a little bit more nice, a little bit sweeter. Their conversations get a bit longer, and they just become very well acquainted, I say. And she asks Izuku if he minds her coming to the beach with him and her training her muscles, helping him move trash, and he tells her that he wouldn't mind, that if she wants to go and do that, and that it's up to her, and that he would enjoy her company as well if she was to do that. She smiles, and she makes her way home, and Izuku makes his way home. And the entire way home, Izuku could not get the brunette girl with rosy pink cheeks out of his head. The more he tried to get his mind onto other things, the more he thought about her. A small bit of warmth filled his chest as he realized that this girl, something about her just made him feel powerful. Something about her made him feel good. Made him feel like he what could be stronger, that he was on top of the world even. Something that he's never felt before. It made him happy. It made him fill up with glee. He just really, really hoped that he could get closer to this girl and maybe develop something with her. Something that could last a long time. He didn't know what falling in love with someone was like. He knew he loved his mom. He knew that he cared for his best friend. He knew that he cared about his best friend's mom. He knew that they were people that were dear to his heart, but he's never known the love that came from the idea of someone special. That's the kind of love that he has never experienced before. And he remembers that Igneel told him when he was really small that one of these days that Izuku would find someone very special that he would notice that made him feel kind of weird, made him feel kind of off, but in a good way. Made him that every dragon slayer, or dragon in particular, would always would find someone special in their life that would be able to help them soar to greater heights. He told Izuku that he will not truly know what it means to be a powerful dragon slayer until he finds the one person that he would gladly destroy the world just to save. That only in that moment would the depths of his power, the most powerful flames, come out of him. That one day when he found the person who he would gladly give up the world for, that she would make him stronger than he could ever imagine. And he was so confused. He asked Igneel exactly why he would destroy the world for someone like that. And Igneel laughed a hearty laugh and told Izuku, "One of these days, boy, you'll realize the answer to your question. All I can tell you is that it's just something that you feel. Something that is within every dragon slayer. A desire to protect that which is the most precious to our hearts. When you grow up and you find that special person Izuku, you'll understand that when it comes down to it, you'd gladly give up your own life, even destroy the world, if it meant protecting that one person who made you the strongest you could ever be. After Izuku had reminisced on that memory, he closed his eyes and laid on his bed, plagued by the thoughts of that beautiful, beautiful girl. One to him who felt like a dream. A dream made of stardust and magic, with skin like porcelain, and with eyes like a chocolate river. One that you could easily find yourself drowning in. So sweet, so elegant, so well defined. He could feel the desire within his heart deepening further. A desire that told him that he wishes he could just run his fingers through her soft hair. Feel her embrace. Hold her close to him, just as he keeps that scarf close to him. As he fell asleep, his mind fogged over as his fate was sealed. The course of history in the coming years would be decided by this simple factor. If Izuku had never met that girl, the course of history would be entirely different. But he did. And now the cogs of time were in motion. And what came next would forever be an anchor point that drove the pinnacle of history into a new age. An age that people in the far future would look back upon and see a great, and I mean great, beginning. Something so profound and beautiful that the course of history itself was altered drastically to make way for it. And that's where I'm going to end today's story. I hope you all enjoyed. And don't forget, the shadows are watching.